Wow, look at that cheese. Just a little more. There we go. That's good cheese.
Aventura Culinaria Escandalosos Cartoon Network. The morning had started like any ordinary day in the forest, but by sunset, the three bear brothers would discover that a single meal could change everything. What began as a silly cooking challenge would soon become a race against time, a test of brotherhood, and one of the most unforgettable adventures they had ever experienced. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of helping others, please like this video, share it with someone you care about, leave a comment, and subscribe to English Cartoon Stories. Your support helps us bring more emotional and exciting stories like this one. The sun was shining brightly through the tall trees when Grizzly woke up with a strange feeling in his stomach. He had been thinking about food all night, and not just any food. He wanted to create the greatest meal the forest had ever tasted. Panda was sitting quietly beneath a tree, sketching in his notebook, while Ice Bear was carefully organizing their small collection of kitchen supplies. Their peaceful morning suddenly changed when Grizzly discovered an old wooden sign hanging outside a nearby community center. The sign announced a special daytime cooking festival where everyone in the forest could participate. The winner would receive a beautiful golden cooking trophy and, more importantly, enough food supplies to feed the local woodland shelter for an entire month. Grizzly's eyes immediately lit up. He imagined himself standing proudly on a stage while everyone applauded his amazing cooking. Panda became excited too, but for a different reason. He wanted to create something beautiful, colorful, and meaningful. Ice Bear simply looked at the list of ingredients and began planning. The brothers gathered their supplies and hurried toward the festival, unaware that their biggest challenge was waiting for them. The festival was filled with cheerful animals, colorful tables, baskets of vegetables, fresh fruit, warm bread, herbs, spices, and the delicious smell of food drifting through the air. Every contestant had their own idea. Some prepared enormous sandwiches, others cooked complicated soups, and one family had even built a giant fruit sculpture. Grizzly looked around nervously. Suddenly, his confidence disappeared. Everyone seemed more prepared than they were. The brothers had only a small table, a few vegetables, some rice, a handful of herbs, and an old cooking pot. Grizzly tried to hide his fear behind a smile, but Panda noticed. He knew his brother was worried about failing. Ice Bear placed their ingredients on the table and calmly began preparing everything. For a few minutes, everything seemed perfect. Then disaster struck. Grizzly reached for the spice container, but his paw accidentally knocked it over. The entire bowl of seasoning spilled across the table. Panda tried to save the vegetables, but one of the bowls fell onto the ground. Ice Bear rushed to protect the cooking pot, only to discover that the fire underneath it had gone out. Their dream meal was falling apart before it had even begun. Grizzly stared at the mess. For once, he had nothing funny to say. He felt embarrassed, frustrated, and angry with himself. He looked at the other contestants and saw how easily they were working together. Then he looked at his brothers and realized that he had been so focused on winning that he had forgotten the most important part of cooking, doing it together. Instead of giving up, Panda quietly began collecting the vegetables from the ground. Ice Bear searched for another source of heat. Grizzly took a deep breath and started cleaning the table. Slowly, the brothers rebuilt their plan. But there was another problem. Their ingredients were not enough. While searching for extra vegetables near the edge of the festival grounds, Panda noticed a small basket hidden behind a wooden bench. Inside were several fresh vegetables and a few fruits. Beside the basket was a note explaining that the ingredients had been donated by a local farmer for anyone who needed them. Panda smiled and carried the basket back to his brothers. For the first time that day, Grizzly understood that they did not need expensive ingredients to make something special. They needed imagination, patience, and each other. They decided to create a simple vegetable rice dish with a sweet fruit topping. It was not the fanciest recipe at the festival, but every ingredient had a purpose. Ice Bear carefully cooked the rice. Panda arranged the vegetables into bright patterns. Grizzly prepared the fruit and mixed the seasoning. As the food began to cook, a wonderful smell spread across the festival. But then the wind suddenly became stronger. Dark clouds appeared over the forest, and a powerful gust swept across the cooking area. Plates fell. Napkins flew through the air. Several contestants struggled to protect their meals. The festival organizers shouted for everyone to move their tables under the covered area. The brothers tried to carry their cooking pot together, but before they reached safety, the wind knocked over a nearby table. A young rabbit named Suri was standing beside it. She froze in fear as a heavy wooden box began sliding toward her. Grizzly immediately forgot about the competition. He rushed toward Suri and pushed the box away. Panda grabbed her hand and pulled her toward safety while Ice Bear protected their cooking pot from falling equipment. Within seconds, the danger passed. Suri was safe, but she was trembling. Her family had been preparing a special meal for the festival, but their entire table had been destroyed by the wind. Their food was scattered across the wet ground. Grizzly looked at his own meal. It was almost finished, and there was barely enough for the competition judges. For a moment, he hesitated. Winning had been his dream all morning. Then he looked at Suri. Without saying anything, Grizzly took their cooking pot and carried it toward the frightened family. Panda followed. Ice Bear followed too. The brothers shared their food with Suri and her family. They also helped them rebuild their table. The festival judges had seen everything. When the rain finally stopped, the sun returned through the clouds. The festival grounds were messy, but the animals slowly began cleaning together. Some contestants shared ingredients. Others helped repair broken tables. The atmosphere had completely changed. The cooking competition no longer felt like a competition. It felt like a celebration. When the judges finally announced the winner, everyone gathered around the main stage. Grizzly stood nervously beside Panda and Ice Bear. He did not expect to win anymore. In his heart, he believed they had already lost because their original dish had been ruined and most of it had been shared. Then the head judge announced that the brothers had received the highest honor of the festival. Not because their meal was the most complicated. Not because it was the most expensive. And not because it looked perfect. They were chosen because their food had become something greater than a recipe. It had become an act of kindness. The golden trophy was placed into Grizzly's paws, but he immediately turned toward Panda and Ice Bear. He knew he could never have earned it without them. The prize included enough food supplies to feed the woodland shelter for an entire month. The brothers happily carried the supplies there the next morning. At the shelter, hungry animals gathered around them. Suri was there too, smiling proudly. Grizzly watched as everyone enjoyed the food they had helped prepare. For the first time, winning did not feel like being better than someone else. It felt like making someone's life a little easier. That evening, the three brothers returned home exhausted. Their clothes were covered in flour, their paws were dirty, and their kitchen was a complete disaster. Grizzly looked around at the mess and laughed. Panda smiled. Ice Bear quietly began cleaning. The day had taught them something they would never forget. Sometimes the best adventures do not begin with a perfect plan. Sometimes they begin with spilled ingredients, broken tables, unexpected storms, and moments when everything seems to go wrong. But when people choose kindness instead of selfishness, mistakes can become memories, and ordinary moments can become something beautiful. Grizzly placed the golden trophy on a shelf. He looked at it for a moment, then placed a small wooden spoon beside it. The spoon was scratched and stained from their adventure, but to him, it was more valuable than the trophy. Because it reminded him of the moment he stopped thinking about winning and started thinking about helping. Panda closed his notebook after drawing a picture of the three brothers standing beside Suri and her family. Ice Bear finished cleaning the kitchen and prepared a small midnight snack. The brothers sat together beneath the warm evening light, sharing the last pieces of fruit from the festival. Outside, the forest was quiet. Inside, the three brothers felt richer than ever. They had started the day searching for the perfect recipe. They ended it discovering the perfect ingredient: kindness. And sometimes, that is the one ingredient no kitchen can ever run out of. If this story touched your heart, please support the video by liking it, sharing it with your friends and subscribing to English Cartoon Stories. Every like and subscription helps us continue creating stories about friendship, kindness, family, and second chances. And before you go, please leave a comment telling us, what would you cook for someone you love if you had only a few ingredients but a big heart? Your comment could inspire someone else to choose kindness today. The three brothers never forgot their culinary adventure. Whenever they cooked together after that day, Grizzly would remember the storm, Panda would remember Suri's smile, and Ice Bear would remember the moment they realized that the greatest meal was never about how beautiful it looked on a plate. It was about who sat beside you when you shared it. And from that day forward, every meal in their little forest home carried the same secret ingredient: love.